Julie Hunt. Julie occupied the corporate ladder for 25 years and took family health, poor relationships, waiting for activity and creativity, and the loss of her job to realize she had a life that did not include herself. Welcome her as she shares her journey from burnout to happiness.
All right, I can see some pretty awesome ladies out there. Did you guys know that it is absolutely downright sizzling sexy to be a woman living a balanced life that you love? One that is filled with passion and laughter and fun and adventure and purpose. One where you are balanced in all areas of your life. Health, wealth, spirituality, relationships, work, and last but not least, ladies, play. I don't know if you have forgotten to play or not. There you go. There are the 6 areas of life that you get to be balanced in. Now your life right now, your current life, you either love it or you don't love it. And I want you to love it. People who love their lives age slower. Who doesn't want a little bit of that action? They look better, they feel better, and people want to be around them. You all have at least one friend that loves their life, and don't you just adore spending time with them? I want 3 things for you tonight. I want you to understand how easy it is to lose the I in your life. When you lose the I in your life, you're left with LFE. Life feels empty. I want you to say yes to you and by understanding your superpowers. Did you guys know you had superpowers? You had them as kids. Didn't you have that sparkly, sprinkly dust? And the third thing I want for you is to load your backpack with the things that are going to keep the I in your life. So the first question is how do you lose the I in your life? And I think you've all heard this at least twice tonight. 3rd time's the charm. You forget about you. You think of everybody else first. You put everybody else first before you do for yourself. And you know what that leads to? It leads to a really imbalanced life. And when your life is out of balance for a really long time, you become resentful and you burn out. And that's what I do. I take 2 people from burnout to balance. So what is burnout? Someone asked me this question at the table for dinner tonight. Well, here you guys can check whether you have it or not. Diminished interest in work and life. I've been there. Poor relationships. I've painfully been there. Poor relationships, health issues. Like aches and pains, headaches, frequent colds. Waning productivity and creativity. You know, I've been there where mine's been pretty non-existent before. You're unable to focus and concentrate. I've been there. And your life feels really empty. Now, people, when they talk to me about burnout, they'll say, oh yeah, that's a corporate employee problem or a business owner problem, because they work all the time. Guess what? You stay-at-home moms are the most susceptible to burnout. If you looked at your job description, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where is there time for you in that? And unless you take daily conscious action to avoid that, there will be no I in your life. Now, the way to say yes to you is to first understand your superpowers. Does everybody understand that they are energy? And every thought you think, every story you tell, and I'm going to tell you, it's time to start changing some of your stories. Every thought you think, every story you tell, and every action you take sends out energy into the universe, and the universe looks at it and says, oh, I see what she wants. I'm going to send that right back to her. If you want to have something different, you have to send different instructions out to the universe. Your superpowers, are you ready? I'm going to tell you what they are. They're your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, and your perceptions. And we're going to talk about one of those tonight, your thoughts, because this is probably the most important and the fastest one you can change. Your thoughts send out energy into the world and create the life that you have now. Up until this point in time, you probably thought that your life experiences were creating your thoughts and your beliefs. And the first time I heard this, I had a rather knee-jerk reaction to this because I was living an incredibly miserable life. I didn't even really want to be around me. And I thought about it and I thought, you know, I think I would choose differently if my thoughts really created my life. And then I thought about it and I thought, maybe I should hear her out. After all, I've been really unsuccessful in changing my life to something that I absolutely love. Maybe some of you are living the same life I was living. I'll be happy when I lose the 10 pounds, when I get into the size 6, when my children are grown, you name it. So I invite you to stay open. And before you judge the process or consider yourself a really crappy creator, I'm going to tell you it isn't your fault. Yay! You were all born in perfection, perfect thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, and emotions. And people that you love and people that love you gave you messages throughout your life, and somewhere along the way, the perfection got lost. Your thoughts are your attraction factor. And so when you put out thoughts into the world, the more you focus on it, the more you get back. If you're focusing on something that says, I never have enough money, the universe looks at that and goes, cool, we're going to send her back some life experiences where she doesn't have more money. And you always get to be right. We love to be right, don't we? Some things we don't want to be right about. You can turn that around, you can reframe that, and you can say, there is always enough money whenever I need it. There is more than enough money for everybody in the world. And the universe looks at that and goes, I'm going to send her more experiences that says there is enough money in the world. I'm going to tell you how powerful this is. I actually thought myself out of a job. Congratulations. Some things you don't want to be right about. As a little girl, I always wanted to grow up and be a CEO of a corporation, making tons of money, traveling the world, and making a huge difference to the betterment of our world. And I knew that if I studied hard and I worked hard and I got good grades and stayed focused, I could make that a reality. I aced my way through high school and college, and I landed that sweet job where I started my climb to the top. And I was sure that when I got there, there would be a door with a plaque on it that said, Julie Hunt, CEO. And 25 years into my career, our country experienced a devastating disaster, 9/11. And people went into one of three states. They went into shock and became very unconscious, or they got really angry and spent all of their time hating the people that bombed us, or they got real clear on what was important to them in their life, and it wasn't work anymore. It was loved ones and family. And it didn't matter which of the three states they went into, business in this country went to a screeching halt. And I went from traveling weekly to traveling once every 3 months. Now you can imagine, after several months of that, our company had to make some pretty tough decisions because our profits were dwindling and that bottom line was an incredibly dismal view. And it was about this time in my career that my boss calls me up and says, you have to lay off your entire North American team. And these were people that I had handpicked and were top performers. And I sat down and I sobbed. And after I finished the deadly deed, I hesitantly picked up that really heavy phone because I had to call my boss back and ask her, now what? And I was really hoping she wasn't going to lay me off. And she didn't. Thank goodness. But for the next year, I traveled anywhere they wanted me to go in a moment's notice. I could have been in Seattle one day and New York City the next. And during that year, my thoughts were, Julie, you've got to work harder, you've got to work longer hours, or you too could lose your job. Did you catch that thought? You too could lose your job. And 1 year later, just to show you how thoughts become things and create your life, I lost my job. Some things you don't want to be right about. By this time, I was burned out. My health was taking a hit. My relationships with my family were very poor. And my productivity and creativity were almost non-existent. I was devastated and bewildered and without identity. My job was my identity. I worked 80 hours a week. And at this point in time, I was really kind of feeling like I had hit rock bottom. And I knew I had to do something different. And I started my 8-year journey from rock bottom burnout to a life I absolutely love. And I can't wait to get out of bed and do my life every day. Now usually by this time I'm tired, but that's okay. After I lost my job, I had to take a really long, hard look at me and figure out and understand how it is that I created a job that or a life that I didn't like, that it didn't include me, and that I didn't enjoy. And I took off my heavy backpack because I was going to do some soul searching and some question asking. And I took out every message that was in that backpack. Things that I collected from birth all the way up to, I don't know what I was then, 40-something. Way older than that now. But I took everything out and I looked at every message and I decided which ones were empowering me and which ones were weighing me down. And I used my emotions to tell me which was which. Pleasant emotions, it's empowering. Put it back in the backpack. Unpleasant emotions, it's weighing me down. Take it out. And during the very first phase of this, I was required to have an open heart, an open mind, and as Joy said, a lot of grace. Thank God for grace. And my very first coach said to me, she says, I want you to leave judgment off to the side. Really? She says, yes, there's really no room for it here. If you want to pick it up after the first phase, that's fine, you can pick it up, but leave it off to the side right now. And I thought, well, that's kind of freeing, because my thought process right now is, how could I have been so blind to not see my superpowers that would make my life easy? How could I be so blind? So I left judgment off to the side. And when I finished that first phase, I had gotten rid of a lot of baggage and kept a lot of empowering stuff. And my backpack was pretty light. Because you know what? Positive energy is feather light, and negative energy is anchor heavy. So I don't know how much your backpack weighs, but you might want to take a look at that. Now you know about your super duper energy emitters. Those are your thoughts. That's one of your superpowers. Let's take a look at what you can put in your backpack. But before we get into the backpack, I want you to first understand how negative self-talk affects you. These 2 jars of rice were cooked in the same pot on the same day in the same water, and they were just put in 2 different pots. And the only difference between those 2 pots, or those 2 jars, was that one had words on it that said lose or failure, and one had words on it that said courage, strength, peace, things that were uplifting and empowering. And they were put in a refrigerator, and they were taken out 2 weeks later, and the jar with the negative self-talk on it, the molecular structure of the rice had started to break down, and it had turned black and started to mold. And the other jar, looked like it just did the 14 days previous. White, clean, like you thought you could eat it. Ate, whatever. And I'm going to tell you that you can go out to the internet, there are scientists all over the world that do these kinds of experiments with water and earth and food and you name it, they do it, snowflakes. But this one was done right here in Boise, Idaho by somebody by the name of Rocky Detweiler, who owns Samson Ware. And I don't know if you know Rocky's story, but his mission for Samson Ware is to inspire, encourage, and bring hope to people through the power of the written and spoken word. And they create clothing from head to toe. It has nothing but positive, uplifting words on it. And Rocky created this company out of the ashes of failure. He had lost millions of dollars and was living in his brother's backyard in a tree house. And out of that came this wonderful company, Samson Ware. So nothing will take your eye out of your life more completely and more quickly than negative self-talk. So let's talk about what you want to put in your backpack. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to fire your inner bully. The one that gets all puffed up and gives you that stinking thinking and that negative self-talk. I want you to fire your inner bully. I want you to pull her right out of your backpack and I want you to tell her to zip it. There is no room in your life for negative self-talk. It is the one thing that will tear you down faster than anything else. Now, what do I want you to put in her place? Well, of course, your empowering princess. The one that has sprinkly dust and a wand. She's the one that whispers into your ear positive self-talk and affirmations. If your best friend talked to you the way you talk to yourself, would she be your best friend? No. We can probably all say that at some point in our time in our life. I invite you to commit to being your own best friend by talking nice to yourself. When you talk nice to yourself, guess what other people do? They talk nice to you too. Anytime you start a sentence with I am, You are saying what you are and what you want to be. So if you're saying things like, I'm dumb, I'm a ditz, I'm fat, I'm a loser, I don't measure up, I'm not worthy, you're sending that energy out into the universe, and the universe is sending you life experiences back to prove you are right. Some things we don't want to be learning about. And guess what? You weren't born with any of those messages. You learned them all, and so you get to unlearn them. Use things like, I am worthy, I am happy, I am creative. I love my bread baskets. Now, people say to me, oh, I don't know. It's so ingrained in me. I just don't know. How long does it take to use positive affirmations? People give up on positive affirmations. Let me ask you, the first time you heard something negative, did you believe it? My parents used the life is hard all the time. You know, I don't think, my life wasn't hard when I started. Okay, maybe going through that birth canal was a little tough, but once I was out, I had to just cry. And someone would pick me up, feed me, cuddle me, take care of me. That doesn't sound very hard, does it? And as I grew up, they kept telling me, life is hard, life is hard, life is hard. Do you think I had to hear it? I heard it 1,000 times, probably before I believed it. So how long is it going to take to hear the positive affirmation to believe it? How many people here know Louise Hay, or know who she is? Louise Hay has this little thing she tells you. She says, look in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. Well, when I was living a really miserable life, I didn't really love myself. I even have an app on my phone now. It's called the Mirror app. I love the Mirror app. But I would hear that over and over and over again before I believed it. Now, how long? You get to decide. Then let me help you with your decision. Positive messages and energy is 100 times more powerful than negative. So the chances are, if you had to hear it 1,000 times, you're not going to have to hear it 1,000 times to believe the positive. Make sense? Now you may be thinking, I don't know how to change my self-talk. I've been doing this for so long, it's just ingrained in me. Yep, I've been there, done that. It's okay. I'm going to give you a tool I want you to put in your backpack. And it's called Stop, Cancel, Clear. Stop, cancel, clear. We all have little neural pathways in our mind, and every thought we take or every thought we think, the little neural pathways, they get to a fork in the road. And they have a choice to go left or right. Well, if I'm using the one that says I'm fat, it's always going left. And then I'm in the kitchen eating more food, and then it's a big cycle. This is where it's like a worn path in the grass. It doesn't even think about it anymore. It just gets to the fork in the road and just automatically goes left. When you say stop, it's getting to the fork in the road, it's going, oh, wait, I can't just go left. She told me to stop. Cancel, clear. You're changing, you're closing the door, you're changing the pathway. And the new pathway says, I'm healthy and energetic. So stop, cancel, clear. I want you to put in your backpack that stop, cancel, clear, and empower your empowering princess and fire that inner bully. Another thing I want you to put in your backpack is belief in yourself and your own power. Take out the measuring stick and other people's opinions. Stop comparing yourself to other people and stop worrying about what other people are thinking. You know what? She's worrying about what you're thinking and you're worrying about what she's thinking and nobody's thinking about the other person. So stop worrying about what other people think. You might want to write this one down. When you compare yourself to other people, you diminish your self-worth and you give your power away to people who are messed up than you. I'll say that again. When you compare yourself to others, you diminish your self-worth and you give your power away to people more messed up than you. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do anything, and more importantly, don't ever tell yourself that you can't do anything. What happens when you give your belief and your self-worth to somebody else and they go away? They take it with them. So it has to come from within. Now let me show you this in action. I grew up in an abusive home. I mean, we're just going to lay it out on the table here. I grew up in an abusive home, and I remember as a child hating being ridiculed in public and hit, slapped, or spanked for saying the wrong thing. And even as a small child, I'm going to tell you that my parents knew something wasn't right. Because my parents, they told me, don't hit other kids, but it was okay for them to hit me. And I never quite understood that. Needless to say, as I grew up an adult, I moved a long ways away from my family, and my family then would come visit. They got 5 days, and then you're out. 5 days. And one day, my son, who was about 6 years old, was out playing outside. He's an active outside child. And he came inside and he says, I'm kind of tired. Before dinner, can I have about 15 minutes of screen time? And I was making dinner. Sure, go ahead. And he sat down on the couch and he turned on the TV. And my mother was sitting in the room with him. And I'm still cutting away in the kitchen. And I hear my mother say, you know, nobody will marry you if you're lazy. And the hair on the back of my neck went up. And I'm like, let's see how this plays out. And before I know it, my son comes in the kitchen and he gets real close to me and he whispers in my ear, did you hear what Grandma said? And I looked at him and I said, I did. Do you believe it? Well, Mom, you've always told me that the things that are true about me are in my tummy. And if it doesn't match what somebody else says, I have to go with what's in my tummy. And I said, so what does your tummy say? My tummy says, I'm not lazy. I'm thinking your tummy's right. What do we do when somebody says something that doesn't match our tummy? We act like a duck, and we let it roll up our back like water off a duck's back. It was a priceless teaching moment. And more importantly, it was affirmation that I was a different parent. And I love that. So throw belief in yourself and your own power with a huge dose of self-worth in your backpack and take out that measuring stick and other people's opinions. Now, I think Jessica talked in this, daily self-care. This needs to be put in your backpack and it's a non-negotiable item. On my calendar, I have a color-coded calendar, it's lavender. If there's no lavender in my day, there's a red flag. Okay? This is the greatest gift that you can give yourself and your families. You have a pot of gold inside of you, and every time you give to other people, a piece of gold leaves. And what are we always doing? Putting everybody else first, and then what happens? The pot gets empty. And what happens when the pot gets empty? We get angry, we get tired, we get resentful, and we get burned out. Self-care activities fill up your pot of gold. About 3 or 4 years ago, my husband and I decided that we were going to get regular massages to fill up our pot of gold. This is a non-negotiable item in our house. We buy 4 packs of massages. They're on our calendar every 3 weeks. And it makes me a better wife to my husband, and my husband a better wife, a better husband. He does clean out the kitchen more than me. But I will tell you that it clears my mind, it relaxes my body, and it fills up my soul and my pot of gold. Now the bummer is I can't have a massage every day. But I do meditate every day. 10 to 15 minutes in silence, listening to my inner wise woman, because she knows it all. And people say to me, I don't know how to turn off my thoughts and meditate. What do you do at night when you go to sleep? Don't you turn off your thoughts? Now you just gotta learn, take practice and learn how to do it during the day. And you can just start with a minute or 2 minutes. It doesn't take much time. One of my favorite ones during the day is this. I'll sit down right before I'm gonna get on a call with one of my coaching clients. And I'll close my eyes and I'll take a couple deep breaths in and out. Love, I am life, and I am grounded. And then I'll take a couple more deep breaths, and I'll make sure that my inner wise woman knows that the highest and best messages will come out from my coaching clients. And you can do that right before the kids come home from school, right before you go to a big meeting, or right before your babies wake up. And it only takes 1 to 2 minutes. Now those of you that have trouble sitting still, I get it. There are walking meditations, there's journaling meditations. Find something that works for you. There are other things you can do to fill up your pot of gold. I like to read positive, uplifting books, not Stephen King. King would not be for me a self-care activity. Exercising. I love to exercise. If you don't love to exercise, it's not a self-care activity for you. Hiking or taking a walk, you can do it alone, or you can do it with someone that you love. If you do it with someone you don't like, it's not a self-care activity. Gardening. I hate to garden, but you know what? I would totally enjoy looking at your garden. That would be a self-care activity for me. Bubble baths, listening to music, dancing. You get to decide what fills up your pot of gold. And if you don't have a list, I want you to go ahead and make a list. So put daily self-care in your backpack and put it on your calendar, just like it's a doctor's appointment. And the last thing I want you to do, oh gosh, see, I totally forgot what I was doing here. The last thing I want you to do is I want you to put self-acceptance in your backpack, and I want you to take out the need to strive for perfection. Here's what I know about perfection, and this is a quote from me. Stop striving for perfection. You were born perfect. That box has been checked and unchecked. It cannot be unchecked. I'm sorry. That box has been checked. I tried to uncheck it and I kept reading. You were born in the image and likeness of God. So if you don't have a self-care list, go ahead and make one. Put daily self-care, throw self-acceptance into your backpack and take out the need to strive for perfection. So you probably have noticed that your backpack's a little bit lighter now, just with those 5 things. You've understood how easy it is to you to lose the I in your life and create a life that feels empty. You now know that your inner bully needs to be fired and is doing you no service in your life. And it can be changed with positive affirmations and with stop, cancel, clear. You understand about your super duper energy emitters, your thoughts, and how they send out energy to the universe, and the universe sends back what you asked for. You send out positive energy, you will get back positive life experiences. I'm living proof. And there's a lot of people in this room that are living proof. You took a lot of heavy baggage out of your backpack. You put in a lot of lighter stuff, like your self-worth, your self-acceptance, your own power, and you have a new way to look at perfection. Now, I recently wrote a book. It's an ebook. It's a gift for all of you. You can go onto my website and download it. It's called 11 Ways to Put the I Back in Your Life. Don't do all 11 at once. It's like what Jessica said, start with one thing at a time. Every person, every coach in this room, anybody that's ever done self-work started one step at a time. Every invention in this world started with one thought. So you don't need to take home 150 and do them all at once. These 11 things that I put in this book are things that I share with my clients. And I have them do them so that they can have a life that has an I in it. And you know what a life with an I in it is? It means life is fun and exciting. Life feels empty, life is fun and exciting. You get to choose. Now tonight you're going to have two choices when you go home. You can take all this great stuff that was created for you, and you can throw it in a corner, and you can say, someday I'll get to that. Or you can say yes to you, and you can choose one thing and implement it into your life this week. I'm going to give you a 3-part invitation. The first thing I want you to do is, I want you to choose to accept the invitation and take the journey. I started my mentoring practice so that my clients would benefit from my 8-year journey and shorten theirs. I don't know, maybe I'm a slow learner, who knows? I'm here and I'm okay. 2, I want you to believe that life can be different. As an adult, I had a choice and whether I was going to be a parent like my mom and dad or I was going to be a different one. And the only way I could be a different one was to choose to believe that life could be different. And the third thing I want you to do is I want you to get a coach. I tried to do this journey on my own. And guess what? I kept getting in my own way. And I have had several coaches and mentors. In fact, I can't even imagine my life without a coach. But they've all helped me go forward. Every single one of them has helped me move forward. They call me on my bullshit, something I've not been able to do for myself yet. They give me tools, tips, and exercises to move me forward. They keep me accountable to my commitments, and they lift me up when I feel defeated. Now, if you've never had a coach, well, maybe you are missing out. And what I want you to know is, the first question is, how do you find the right coach? Well, in a minute, you are going to have a bunch of coaches that you can mingle with. And I encourage you to mingle and ask questions. Find somebody who you have a connection with. And I will tell you that every coach on the planet worth their salt will give you a free, complimentary session so you can identify whether it's a fit for you. So now is your chance to create the life you desire, the one that you love, the one that's fully balanced. Because remember, it's sexy to be a woman living a balanced life that she loves. Now, for those of you that think you don't deserve it, take out that stop, cancel, clear, and start using that puppy today. Get back to where you were born, to the messages that you were born with. I see in this room, out in front of me, magnificence in motion. You are all worthy, and you were all born in perfection. And you're all deserving to have a life you love. I want to celebrate you tonight for coming here because this was a gift to yourself. So already, you guys are one step ahead of the game. And my question to you is, what's your next step?